Hi, welcome to Blueprint's webinar on Additive Service Bureau Trends. My name is Kunal Mehta, and I'm the head of Blueprint Consulting. I have 13 years experience in providing strategic consulting for Fortune 500 companies looking to adopt and integrate emerging technologies into their business. From omni-channel digital strategies to customer experience, AI, and now additive manufacturing, I've had the joy of leading hundreds of projects from concept to delivery. What drives me is to help our clients to take advantage of the new technologies that can propel their businesses forward in new ways. As a quick intro to Blueprint, we're a dedicated 3D printing consultancy. We exist to help our customers make sense and adopt this technology. With over 16 years of experience and hundreds of thousands of hours of consulting across various industries and size of clients, we know we can help you. Our services span strategy, operations, and applications consulting, and focus on all additive manufacturing technologies, processes, and materials. If you're struggling to develop your 3D printing business case and roadmap, or wondering how to use the technology to develop new cutting-edge products, we are here to help. If you're looking to identify and design applications on your factory floor, or need to learn how to design for additive manufacturing, we are here to help. In our spare time, we focus a lot on thought leadership. Webinars like this, to books, blogs, innovative frameworks, and software. If you're interested in chatting, drop us a line at hello@additiveblueprint.com, and we will be sure to get back to you. Before we get into the trends of this industry, it's important to put some context around what is happening. With the economy at its highest volatility ever, I was wondering what the market sentiment was. Fortunately, a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to meet with 20 of the largest service bureaus in the United States and ask them this question. I wanted to understand if they believed a recession was impending, and if so, when they thought it would happen. So we asked the question and outlined 5 responses based on if they believed a recession was happening, if so, in what time frame. Not surprisingly, 74% of the group agreed that a recession was impending within the next 18 months. So how does this play out for our industry? Typically, manufacturing is the first to be hit within a recession. And when we, additive manufacturing, a cutting-edge technology that isn't fully adopted, how do we differentiate to ensure we survive this recession? So what is going on in this industry? What are the various trends that could impact us, both externally and internally? First, let's discuss the external forces that are creating some challenges, from economic uncertainty to growth misconceptions and increased competition. Over the next 4 slides, I will quickly speak to the primary levers that judge economic quality. First, jobs. While unemployment is at its lowest level since 1969 at 3.7%, and wage growth is above average at 3.4%, in the last year there have been a drop by about 32% in new jobs, and much of that drop has been happening in manufacturing. Secondly, overall, consumers are continuing to prop up the U.S. economy. Consumption is high, retail sales have been generally strong. However, sentiment just dipped in August to the lowest level since 2012, and retail sales in September just dropped for the first time in 7 months. So the question is, how much more can the consumers keep us propped up? Overall financial conditions are tightening due to the trade wars. We have heard about the inverted yield curve that happened in August. Last time this happened was right before the financial crisis. Corporate profits are down, and the latest Roundtable Index shows a decrease in sales and capital spending. Capital spending is below its average at about 73.4 versus 76.7, and sales are below average, about 91.6 versus 112.9. And finally, economic uncertainty is at its all-time high. U.S. PMI dropped below 50 barrier in August, but fortunately has been coming back up for the last 2 months. We continue to teeter around this neutral mark. So in general, it's a tale of 2 economies right now. Consumers are propping this up, but aspects such as investment and manufacturing are weakening. Manufacturing, again, is typically the first to move in a recession. It's the most sensitive, and all indications show our industry is slowing down. So it's a good time to start preparing for the end of a business cycle. A recession, however, doesn't look like it's immediately around the corner. But a growth slowdown and market volatility is to be expected more than 10 years into an economic expansion, as we've been going through, as market participants navigate choppy waters from the trade war that can change any given day. We're in a fragile situation. The consumer, which is typically a lagging indicator, has a lot of momentum, and it would take several months for further weakening to get to the danger zone in terms of economic growth. But that doesn't mean we can't be there in a year or a year and a half down the road. It's getting harder and harder to point to what the good news is. The next trend, growth misconceptions. Depending on the report, annual growth rates for additive manufacturing range between 18 to 27%, and we're bordering an $11 billion industry in 2020. But that said, in my various years of analyzing industries, I've never seen a margin of error in growth rates of 44%. Everyone has different expectations of growth, and we need to temper what the truth is. The environment is volatile, and our industry is as well. It's fragile, and it still needs to prove to the masses this is a commercially viable production solution. We're getting there, most certainly. We continue to be haunted, unfortunately, by the hype of the early 2010s. While still positive double-digit growth, remember, we are often the first to feel the effects of a recession, especially additive manufacturing, as we are often seen as a secondary form of manufacturing to traditional methods. Generally speaking, this industry is like raising a child. It's directionally positive, but be ready for the chaos, challenges, and fun. And the last external challenge is competition. There's an increased amount of OEMs, resellers, and tier ones that are entering into the additive manufacturing service market. Secondly, the barrier to entry is significantly lower these days. There's an increase in smaller parts providers using cheaper printers and driving prices down. If you look at these charts, 48% of parts providers have not been in operation for more than 3 years, and 51% make less than $500K. So there's just a lot more players in the market that are going to continue to drive prices down. And how do you ensure quality remains as high as it can be? How do you ensure in our industry where quality is essential, repeatability is essential, these smaller players don't impact us, or price doesn't continue to drop to impact what we can do and deliver? While there are plenty of external challenges to worry about, I'm personally more concerned with the internal challenges. First, there continues to be a lack of knowledge about our industry. A survey Blueprint recently conducted states that 85% of customers believe education in our industry is the biggest barrier to adoption. I'm less worried about the engineers and designers. They have a natural desire to engage with the technology. I'm more concerned about their managers and the rest of the businesses, understanding the value of 3D printing, and then ultimately engaging with the technical resources to execute. How do we get these folks in marketing, procurement, operations, strategy to start seeing additive manufacturing as a viable solution to adding value to the bottom line? Secondly, there's a delicate balance between providing services at competitive pricing, ensuring profits are made and costs are covered. Customers expect low prices, but they don't understand that costs associated to machine maintenance, materials, labor, and all of these other things that are so high. We know that a waste-free environment is hard and processes are not fully stable. Oftentimes, a new application may mean new processes, a couple of trials or experiments, and several failed prints. Customers seem to get this with traditional manufacturing. They pay for quality, but with all the misconceptions of 3D printing, it seems to be forgotten. And again, those smaller players continue to drop prices to win deals, even when they may not be providing the same quality. Lastly, new technologies are created every month, and knowing what to invest in is a fine art. How do we invest in those machines that actually meet customer needs while meeting long-term goals and costs associated to those long-term goals? So ultimately, we need to start preparing for the potential end of a business cycle. We feel the increased pressures from our competitors, increased pressures due to lower prices and higher costs to differentiate. Service bureaus will need a greater agility and innovation in order to adapt to a market that is in constant flux. When I think of service bureaus today, there are two distinctly different business models, either prototyping or production. Prototyping focuses on optimizing costs and driving margins, while production is all about differentiating on value. It's defendable revenue. You don't need to choose between these two. You can have both. You just need to recognize that they run differently and have different outcomes. Depending on which path you take, there's unique actions you should take. That said, both should start with by educating your customers about the technology. Be it design for additive manufacturing, thinking additively, or the business value of AM, help your customers understand the nuances of this technology. They need it, otherwise they will think that additive is no different than traditional manufacturing. Next, for prototyping, it's sales automation. Again, prototyping is about speed. Ensure your online tools quote in seconds. This means that they need to be tied back to back-end workflows, logistics, and printers. Automation is the name of the game. If done correctly, this could be a good foundational cash cow to any service bureau, but it requires upfront investment in tools, technologies, and processes. Now, switching over to production. Before you really can take the journey, you really need to focus on streamlining operations and ensuring everyone has a robust understanding of designing for additive manufacturing. Processes and procedures need to be in place. Certifications can be obtained, and folks need to be trained through practice on design tactics. Only then can you achieve the right level of quality and repeatability needed for production printing. Then you need to specialize. Given the breadth of what you can manufacture, you need to focus your teams and become experts within an industry, a geography, specific materials, be that metals, polymers, or ceramics. Focus on building the credibility for whatever you specialize in. Obtain the necessary certifications, and again, focus. Now that you have your processes in place and certifications obtained, you have a better sense of your business. This is a good time to think about how you plan your expensive technology investments. Now, going back to both of these, regardless of your business model, digitize your workflows. Customers want to know where their parts are. Customers want additive tied into their ERP systems, no differently than traditional manufacturing. And finally, don't forget to market yourself. Even in a recession, ensure you communicate your value proposition to your customers. Only then do they know that you exist. A great example of this is Forecast 3D based out of Carlsbad, California. They've done a great job following this path since they started in the mid-1990s. From certifications to being cautious about investments, they definitely seem to get this story. So what is the right future operating model? I don't know the answer, but here's one framework to think about it. Depending on how you think about the economy, and if you want to play in a competitive environment, here are 4 potential operating models. In a slowing economy where you have a small, focused book of business, find a way to make yourself appealing. Streamline your operations, focus on marketing, and look to sell yourself. There's no shame in this tactic. We are seeing numerous large players sell or go through M&As to find synergies. Fathom was recently bought by private equity firm Core Technologies, and I certainly am excited to see their future. I also predict another acquisition for them. Recently, Forecast 3D was bought by GKN, a UK-based service bureau, to expand their global reach. The consolidation is needed in our industry, as the connections, collaboration, and mutual benefits could only expand the value pie. While very uneventful, in a growing economy with a set of continuously purchasing customers, be a generalist. Focus on automation, focus on quality, and focus on streamlining your operations to drive margin increases. Thirdly, and probably the best case, is the economy continues to grow and you're a company with a large war chest of money. This is a perfect case to partner and or invest in companies to lock down production capacity. You also have the luxury of diversifying your portfolio into different and difficult services industries. You will need to invest and wait for a 5-year return, but it only grows your present, brand, and future revenue potential. Now, lastly is a slowing economy, but a desire to be competitive. Be niche. Specialize across something, be that materials, geographies, or specific industries. Get the necessary certifications, focus on quality production, and ultimately charge a premium for your expertise. Finally, regardless of the business model, don't forget to educate your customers on how to think additively. Don't forget to digitize your workforce and ensure you market your value prop. So what is the best future strategy? We asked the 20 top service bureaus this question, and here was their response. Top response at over 50% was to be niche, specialize and articulate that value prop to the world. Secondly, 32% said be appealing. This seems to make sense as some consolidation in this market needs to happen, and as I mentioned, is already happening. Overall, don't be a generalist. Our industry is tough. It requires folks that are both left and right-brained. It requires deep technical expertise with a clear understanding of the business value. And to add, it requires folks to experiment, innovate, and in some cases take a leap of faith that the technology will drive fundamental change in manufacturing. So before we wrap, I just wanted to share various pieces of thought leadership that Blueprint continues to put out into the market. You can view our webinars, our blogs, various published content, and soon we'll be adding assets and accelerators to our website. Visit us at additiveblueprint.com to learn more. So that wraps up our webinar on Service Bureau industry trends. I wanted to say thank you for spending the time with us at Blueprint, listening to us, and hopefully learning something new. It's been fantastic to present this, and I really hope you attend our next episode. If you want to carry on the conversation, email me at hello@additiveblueprint.com. If you're already on a 3D printing initiative, then I'd also love to hear what's going on and how you're going about it. With that, I will sign off and say goodbye. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you at our next webinar.